Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So before we dive into it, do me a favor. If you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here with an update regarding the rumored December PlayStation State of Play or Showcase. And unfortunately, it's not a good one. This is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. They say Sony published a YouTube ad that fans speculated was teasing a PlayStation State of Play for December 2024. The speculation sounded plausible because it coincided with PlayStation's 30th anniversary, and Sony has previously held a 25th anniversary State of Play. But at least one insider thinks we should keep our expectations in check. The date that Sony appeared to tease in its ad was December 3rd, 2024, just days ahead of the Game Awards. Journalist and insider Jeff Grubb took to X to dash hopes, noting that he hasn't heard any rumblings of a PlayStation event next month. Jeff Grubb is typically spot on when it comes to leaking PlayStation events specifically. On an episode of Game Mess Mornings, he doubled down on this, telling fans that his sources were positive that there is nothing planned for December. To be clear, this does not mean that Sony doesn't have anything planned to celebrate PlayStation's 30th anniversary, but Jeff Grubb is saying to temper expectations for any kind of state of play or showcase. We've also noticed that other insiders who usually corroborate reports of PlayStation events have been quiet on this front as well, indicating that Sony wasn't really teasing anything at all. So yes, we are hearing directly from Jeff Grubb, who I believe is the most reliable source specifically when it comes to PlayStation State of Plays and showcases. He is the only reliable source with a consistent track record in this regard. He is saying that his sources are positive Sony is not planning to do an actual event of any kind. Maybe not the most surprising news, because honestly, before these rumors started to heat up in the last day or so, I was not convinced that Sony was going to do anything, simply because we just got a pretty significant state of play in September. And when you consider how big the Game Awards have become, they are basically the new E3. And it's only one day, of course, that we get the Game Awards, but publishers seem to be taking it more and more seriously every year because more and more people are tuning in. And Sony has shown over the past couple of years that they also take the Game Awards very seriously by bringing quite a bit to the show. So while it is disappointing to hear that Sony's not doing a state of play or a showcase, and we will have to wait until sometime in 2025 for either of those things to occur, it is also, reassuring in some ways, I guess you could say, that if Sony is going to show up at the Game Awards, they're likely going to show up in a relatively significant way. And I do expect Sony to be showing off some new stuff at the Game Awards. So there you go. I wanted to keep you guys updated. I'm glad, honestly, that Jeff Grubb came out very quickly to update us on this, because it would have been pretty annoying if we were kind of just spending the next 2 or 3 weeks, assuming that something was going to happen just for nothing to happen. But we are going to move on to the next topic, which talks about the PS5 Pro, specifically how it is handling Unreal Engine 5 much better than the base PS5. Being reported by WCCF Tech, the PS5 Pro seems way more capable of handling the demanding Unreal Engine 5 than the base model, as the system runs the demo that first showed us what sort of visuals the engine can deliver much better than any other console currently on the market. The Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 demo runs considerably better on the new system than on the base system without a dedicated patch that would allow the demo to take full advantage of the PS5 Pro's power and features. Resolution changing to keep performance steady is rather noticeable in some sequences, but it is still impressive how the console handles this demanding demo, which uses the very first version of Unreal Engine 5 that lacks many of the improvements that have been introduced over the years. It would be quite interesting to see how the PS5 Pro would run the Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 demo if it were updated to the latest version of the engine. As showcased in a video last month, the improvements introduced to the engine since its very first version make quite a difference in terms of image quality and performance. So I thought that this was worth mentioning here because one of the questions that people have had for the PS5 Pro specifically is how much will it benefit Unreal Engine 5 games? And of course, we've already seen some improvements, but it's interesting to look at this demo specifically because, yeah, I do remember in 2021, there was a very big deal made about this demo because it was kind of pushing the limits to a degree of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X at the time. It is, again, worth keeping in mind that this is an older version of Unreal Engine 5. So basically what that means is what we're seeing here, for as good as it is, it could be even better with the latest version of Unreal Engine 5. But continuing to talk about the PS5 Pro, we're talking about God of War Ragnarok. The patch has been analyzed, and it seems like Santa Monica Studio is doing some very good stuff with the PS5 Pro and PSSR. Once again, coming from WCCF Tech, the God of War Ragnarok PlayStation 5 Pro patch is among the best ones to date, introducing new options that provide a deeper insight into the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaler alongside great visuals and performance improvements. During the latest episode of their weekly podcast, the tech experts at Digital Foundry analyzed the game's PS5 Pro patch, highlighting the new features that it introduces and how it takes advantage of the console's power and features. The patch replaces the standard performance mode with a PS5 Pro enhanced mode that uncaps the frame rate, so those with 120Hz screens with VRR can enjoy a higher frame rate experience that consistently runs above 60 FPS, hitting the 100 FPS range rather often. The most interesting feature of the God of War Ragnarok PlayStation 5 Pro patch, however, is the new scaling options, which include PSSR, anti-aliasing, and the TAA option the game has featured since launch. These options, which can be switched on the fly, provide great insight into the performance cost of this PSSR upscaler, which does a great job enhancing the image quality and the perception of distant detail using the same 1440p base resolutions as TAA, but does impact performance. In one of the game's most CPU-intensive scenarios, using PSSR over TAA made the game run at 10 frames per second less or more. As such, this essentially confirms the PSSR cost on performance of 2 milliseconds every frame that was revealed in the internal documents leaked a few months ago. Rounding out the improvements of the God of War Ragnarok PlayStation 5 Pro patch is the new enhanced mode and the presence of all the image quality features seen in the base game's quality mode, including the light ray tracing for the scene-aligned cube maps, which is still not available in the PC version of the game. All of these features make the patch one of the best released to date, enhancing the experience considerably in both image quality and performance over the base model. So it sounds like Santa Monica Studio went above and beyond here to do everything they could to get the most out of the PS5 Pro when it comes to God of War Ragnarok. And it's interesting because God of War Ragnarok is already one of the best looking and best performing games on the base PS5. And it even does pretty well on the PS4. But it's just nice to know if you want to go back and play this game, or maybe you're going to play it for the first time on the PS5 Pro, you are getting some pretty solid enhancements overall here. And yeah, hopefully we will continue to see more studios do this much with the extra horsepower of the PS5 Pro and PSSR. But moving on to the next topic here, we have a strange scenario occurring on the PlayStation Store, being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. Last week, we reported that the PS Store received a helpful update in that it now has a separate category for PS5 Pro enhanced games. Unfortunately, it looks like the selection is a tad bit misleading because it lists games that have only been confirmed for PS5 Pro enhancement in the future and thus are not enhanced for the console yet. The issue is not limited to just the PlayStation Store. It looks like there was a lapse in communication somewhere because Sony's own official list of PS5 Pro launch games mentions at least 2 titles that have yet to be Pro enhanced, and they aren't exactly small games. Both Fortnite and Call of Duty Black Ops 6 are still listed on the PlayStation blog as having enhancements at launch, and at the time of this writing, neither of those games have received their official Pro patches. Many thought that Black Ops 6 Season 1 update would contain Pro enhancements, but we have not spotted anything in the patch notes yet. There's still no word on Fortnite either. We're not sure what's going on here, but we'll keep an eye on the situation. In the meantime, PS5 Pro players will have to make do with the hardware level boosts for games that have yet to be patched. And it's also worth noting that many people are still very unsure if Silent Hill 2 Remake has officially been PS5 Pro enhanced, because a lot of people are reporting that the game actually runs somehow slightly worse on the PS5 Pro, but it does say in the store that it is PS5 Pro enhanced, but people don't seem to recall getting an actual update or patch that brought those enhancements. And so we're waiting for updates in this regard. And yeah, I do hope we get updates, because this is definitely not a good look where Sony is out here at the launch of the Pro listing games that are going to be PS5 Pro enhanced supposedly at launch. And here we are, you know, a week later, and there's no communication as to like where these patches are, when they're expected to come. I think people assumed it was going to take maybe like a couple of days or something, but you know, we're going to be going into week 2 of the PS5 Pro being out, and if we don't hear anything from these studios or from Sony, that's going to be honestly very annoying, because people paid a lot of money for this console, and they did so under the impression that these games were going to be PS5 Pro enhanced. So I hope we hear something very, very soon. But guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. If you did, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.